Welcome back to the Cathedral of Whispers, beloved Turkish Spotlight Secrets family. In a landscape as combustible as Turkish show business, where budgets swell, tempers flare, and loyalty can evaporate between one episode and the next, something rare has jolted the set lights and shaken the corridors of power. Forget beach getaways and red carpet smiles. Today the spotlight tilts toward a corporate and emotional earthquake with two epicenters beating in unison, Ozan Baba and Sinem Ünsal. What erupted behind closed doors is not the ordinary hum of speculation, it's the roar of a production crisis that has stunned executives, rattled advertisers, and forced an entire writer's room to sprint. Word from deep inside the set describes a standoff that began as a murmur, then swelled to a storm, and finally thundered with a line from Ozan that knocked the oxygen out of the boardroom. 7 words, ice-cold and unmistakable, delivered like a hammer on velvet. If Sinem walks, I walk right after. Why would one of the industry's most sought-after leading men place his own contract on the altar of principle? Are we witnessing the dusk of a blockbuster or the dawn of a new era where actors refuse to let art be sidelined by convenience? Before we enter the heart of this living, breathing thriller, make sure you are subscribed to Turkish Spotlight Secrets, hit the bell so you won't miss what happens next, and if you want to back fearless storytelling that peels back the curtain production houses like to keep shut, consider joining as a member. Your support is the fuel that keeps these truths in motion. Now take a deep breath, here's what really happened. To grasp the magnitude of this explosion, we have to trace the fuse that smoldered for weeks. According to the most reliable whispers that reached our newsroom straight from the soundstage, the tension did not spring from a single moment. It grew quietly, like a hairline crack in glass, spreading with every table read and every call sheet. At the core of it all stands Sinem Ünsal, an actress whose on-screen intensity and natural warmth are beyond dispute, yet who, if the leaks are accurate, became the unsuspecting victim of a creative blind spot too brazen to ignore. Insiders say that pressures, commercial, political, and egotistical, began tilting the script away from the layered journey her character had been promised. One scene at a time, the beating heart of a major storyline slowed, then skipped, then seemed to disappear, until a role meant to anchor the narrative was hovering at the edges like set dressing. Imagine being a consummate professional, devoting sleepless nights to a character's emotional map, only to watch those routes erased by rewrites that reduce complexity to convenient silence. In private, with the measured calm of someone who knows her worth, Sinem is said to have summed up her frustration in a way that cut through noise: "I need the story to honor the work." There was no vanity in it, no plea for more close-ups, it was a demand for coherence, a request that the promise made to the audience, and to the craft, be kept. And while Sinem's voice remained measured in public, someone else heard the undertow of her disappointment and refused to pretend nothing had shifted. This is where the plot pivots into cinema. In an industry where co-stars often shield themselves first and let the other drift, Ozan Baba chose a different path. He watched, he listened, and he felt the equilibrium on set tilt. The electricity we see when they share the frame, the crackle that makes viewers decide to stay an extra 5 minutes, then 10, is not an accident of lighting. It is the manifestation of two professionals building a trust that transcends lines on a page. Witnesses describe how the atmosphere on set grew chalk dry. The laughter between takes dulled. The breaks turned into cautious stretches of silence where eyes said more than words. And then came the moment. Some say it happened around a cramped conference table, others claim it landed after a scene that stripped away the thread that once bound Sinem's arc. However it unfolded, the result was the same. Ozan made it plain that if the production let Sinem walk, he would not be the one to prop up a wounded version of their story. The gravity is hard to exaggerate. He did not bargain for a fatter paycheck or a polished trailer. He put his future on the table out of loyalty, to the craft, to the partner who elevates him, and to the version of the show that audiences were promised. That single stance sent a blizzard through the production offices. Ozan knows the series rests on 2 pillars, and he all but told the architects that if one is deliberately fractured, the other won't pretend to stand. So let me pause and turn to you. Have you ever had a colleague who decided your dignity mattered as much as their own pay grade? What do you make of Ozan's move, bravery or recklessness? Tell us in the comments, and remember, members of Turkish Spotlight Secrets get priority replies when we dig into the next round of developments. Panic is not too strong a word for the producer's reaction. Overnight, a maze of emergency meetings sprang up. Phones screamed. A handful of writers were roused to reinvent entire arcs. Losing one lead would be damaging, losing both would be catastrophic. The financial ghosts arrived before dawn, ratings projections dipped on spreadsheets, advertiser contingency clauses started glowing red, and a dozen side deals suddenly looked fragile. Rumor has it the producers rushed to reassure Sinem, promising a restoration of the role she was promised at the outset. Stronger scenes, a reclaimed trajectory, a narrative spine set back in place, words poured out like water on a grease fire. But the question now hanging above every desk is harsh and simple: is it already too late? Can a promise made in panic rebuild trust surgically dismantled over weeks? As for Ozan, he has settled into a measured posture that keeps everyone on edge. He hasn't softened his line, he's left it suspended in the air, the silent pendulum swinging. He's watching for action, not adjectives. And the shockwaves don't stop at the studio gates. The tension has infiltrated the sleek conference rooms where deals are drafted and campaigns are plotted. Brands that attach themselves to the magnetism of Ozan and Sinem are calling, texting, and pushing. Let's be honest, much of the money didn't arrive purely for the script. It arrived for the sensation of Ozan and Sinem, a pair who, together, trigger audience devotion. Commercial partners who speak the language of metrics better than monologues are now making a simple demand: keep the duo intact, or we might not be here when the dust settles. That external pressure arms the actors with leverage no clause can silence. They have talent, and now they have undeniable market gravity to match. While the story churns around her, Sinem has chosen poise. She has reportedly told those closest to her that she will not speak publicly until the picture clarifies. That restraint is both elegant and strategic. In an environment where any sentence can be twisted into a headline, silence becomes agency. It compels the other side to move. Behind the scenes, her management has slipped into high-gear diplomacy, scheduling back-to-back sit-downs to codify what until now has lived in airy promises. Sinem is not aiming for diva treatment. She is asking for guarantees that female leads won't be celebrated in press releases only to be thinned out on the page. She wants continuity written into the DNA of the work, not taped on the outside. Predictably, the public arena has become a coliseum of opinion. Timelines are buzzing. Fan threads split into hopefuls and doom watchers, though all share the same anxiety. One side applauds Ozan's integrity, insisting the pair's combined power is the soul of the series and that this crisis could be the necessary purge to reforge a story worthy of its stars. The other side, eyes narrowed with dread, wonders whether the game is already up. If they both exit, does the show survive in anything but name? Are we witnessing a negotiation tactic or the slow, ceremonial toll of a bell that signals the end? Meanwhile, colleagues on set, those who see the day-to-day grind, describe a slow drip of discontent rather than a sudden eruption. They talk about the way Ozan and Sinem huddle over pages, pitch tweaks with the kind of focus that only comes from love of the work, and lift each other when the hours stretch to midnight. This is not a romance story, it is a portrait of professional kinship, forged in repetition, heat, and trust. It is precisely that bond that explains Ozan's line in the sand. He is not defending Sinem because it looks good. He is defending the integrity of the engine they built together. Remove her, and the machine stutters. Neglect her, and the audience senses betrayal. Right now, the industry is holding its breath. The next days will decide whether spreadsheets bend to storytelling or the other way around. The question will soon move from rumor to headline: if Sinem goes, will Ozan go too? Will the show find a renewed heartbeat and rise higher, fortified by a narrative cleanup and an affirmation of respect? Or will we watch a giant crumble from the inside, undone by its failure to protect the artistry that made it a hit? One truth, however, has already crystallized. No matter how the contracts shake out, Ozan Akbaba and Sinem Unsal have secured the moral high ground. They have reminded everyone that fame without principle is a brittle trophy. And as for us, your eyes and ears in the storm, Turkish spotlight secrets will stay on this story around the clock. The moment a producer blinks, a draft changes, or a statement lands, you will hear it here before it ripples anywhere else. If this show of loyalty and courage stirred something in you, tap like so the message reaches the desks that need to see it. Share this video to let the decision makers know the audience stands with the artists. And if you want to stand even closer to the fire with us, consider joining our VIP circle by pressing join. Your membership keeps this channel independent, unflinching, and ready for the next twist in the saga of Ozan and Sinem, two stars who just set a new standard for what it means to have each other's back when the cameras stop and the real drama begins.